It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Hey, welcome to Matt and Cheryl's Gen Excellent Playlist Holiday Special. I'm Matt.
I'm Sheryl.
Merry Christmas, everybody. We're going to be picking our favorite Christmas songs. And when I say we and our, I mean me, myself, Sheryl Bott here, and her husband, Mike, will be joining us for the first time. Probably not for the last time because Mike is a music guy as well, and we're going to pick his brain a little bit.
Yeah, he
He's
is.
very much a music guy. We're going to pick his brain a little bit. He's going to, Cheryl and Mike are going to share. They're going to pick one song each. I'll pick two. So we'll have our Mount Rushmore of Christmas songs to celebrate the season. Before we get into our Christmas songs, Cheryl, your kids are how old now?
They are 16 and 19.
16 and 19. You'll have them home for Christmas.
Oh yeah, they're here. Yep.
So
I have to say this year, I don't know what it is. And my daughter just mentioned it to me today. She's like, I don't really feel like it's very Christmassy this year. And I haven't even really listened to any Christmas music. And I haven't heard much on the radio. And I was like, I know, me too. Because usually when we're driving around, we just play the radio. And normally, you'll hear Christmas songs interspersed between just the regular songs. And I have heard very little Christmas music on the radio this year. So
I listened to a fair bit today driving around, just around the Portland area on the Benson High School station, which I love, 1450 AM KBPS. At a certain point today, they were playing like jazzy, funky Christmas music.
Christmas,
and,
yeah,
that was fun. But like you, I've listened to hardly any Christmas music so far, and really the last 2 years I've barely played any Christmas because I'm just buried in music, and I don't feel like I can take a month off and just listen to Christmas music. I get just to keep up with all the music I got coming in and process it. I got to keep
pretty
listening.
much everybody has a Christmas album out now, so you could definitely find new things to listen to Christmas if you wanted to. Although most of them are the recycled Christmas carols, things that everybody's covering. So you don't get a lot of new music, I guess, in that regard. But
I would say with each passing year, it gets harder and harder to really do a fresh take on Christmas standards. We've heard so many artists do these same songs, and how many great artists are coming around, with a new take on these. It just doesn't happen very often. You really need to come up with your own self-penned or writers need to come up with new Christmas songs,
which is actually a really good idea, because if you write a Christmas song and it's a good one, it's going to get played every year. And then you may even have other people covering them too. So, it's kind of a sure thing that it's going to stick around, since there really aren't that many original Christmas songs that.
Trust me, if you are not a talented performer, singer, or player, but you want to get into the music business as a writer, and a lot of people have done this, A, you want to go to Nashville or get close to Nashville. B, and I know a lot of people are out there banging their heads against the wall trying to write a Christmas classic, because for what you just said, that's your retirement right there. That is you write one Christmas classic that a popular artist picks up, and cha-ching. And
sometimes they'll get put into movies too. It's the same thing with a Christmas movie that everybody will watch every year. And if they get a song put into the movie too, that's even better.
Now we're talking about modern Christmas, and that's the angle we're going to take here. We're not picking our favorite Christmas carols. We're going with more modern takes on the Christmas season. At least mine are. My songs are actually both from the 70s. One put out in 1970. Written about that time by the artist who sings it, and the other one written in 51, but I got a recording from 79 that I'm going to be putting out there. And Cheryl, you as well, with a
Mine's
song
from the
70s?
Late 70s, early 80s. Yes. Mm-hmm. And
now,
Mike's is actually from the 80s. Originally, there's two versions of it, and then another one that came out later. I'm not sure when. He'll have to tell you.
Yeah, Mike's song is one I was not familiar with. It's quite obscure. But it
Not
has.
necessarily in the Northwest, but
Yeah,
everywhere else,
yeah.
yes.
I
Yeah.
was about to say it's taken a foothold in the Northwest because
Yeah.
a couple of radio station DJs picked up on it, and it's kind of become a tradition for some people in the Pacific. But that one passed me by at the time, so I was
Yeah.
unfamiliar with it. So before we start picking our songs, what are some of the things your kids are going to expect when they're home for Christmas, like traditions or Christmas treats, or what kind of Christmas? What are their favorite Christmas songs? Do you guys gather around the piano and or go around? Do you
I
go?
wish.
Do you go Does anybody go caroling anymore around the
I don't
neighborhood?
think so. That hasn't. I cannot remember the last time I had a knock on the door and there were carolers on the other side.
What about when you were a child? Would your family do stuff like that, or sing Christmas carols around the piano, or go
We
around the
wouldn't do
neighborhood? Or
that.
yeah.
We did have some traditions that, like, we always did fondue on Christmas Eve.
Mm.
So we do like a cheese fondue, and then we do like one that had different. My mom would make these meatballs with like a thing of cheese in the middle of them, and so that was like our Christmas Eve tradition. And then my brother and I would each get to open one present, and and I remember, I mean, I was actually pretty into Christmas music when I was younger because my parents had a lot of Christmas albums. I mean, not a lot, but compared to, they didn't have a very big album collection, period. So the amount of Christmas albums they had in relation to how many albums was actually quite a few. And so I remember I would sit there in the living room, even like after everybody else had gone to bed, and I'd put on Christmas music and just look at the tree, sit there and look at the tree with the lights. And I loved the Harry Simone choir, Little Drummer Boy. That was one of my favorites. I love the Andy Williams Christmas album, especially the song Do You Hear What I Hear? I would just keep putting that song on over and over and over again. I don't know why, but that one just really, like, I just loved that song.
That's one of my favorite carols too.
Yeah. So there were quite a few. We had the John Denver and the Muppets Christmas album. I love that one. We had the Osmonds Christmas album, Johnny Mathis. Those are the ones I remember the most. But yeah, we didn't really do like our own singing, but we did listen. I do remember listening to Christmas music a lot.
3 albums that I remember from Christmases of my youth, and I was chatting with my parents today. These were really the 3 big ones. So tire companies used to put out these Christmas LPs in the 60s, Firestone albums. And we had a Goodyear one. I think it was Volume 6, and it had the headshot photos of the artists on it. And these were, easy listening type, like Barbara Streisand and Bing Crosby and people like Andy Williams. My favorite, and my mom's favorite too, I chatted with her about it today, the Johnny Mathis Merry Christmas album, the one where he's on the skis, on the snow.
Yeah, we had that one.
That's the all-timer, really. That is the gold standard Christmas album, I think. And then his version of Winter Wonderland, I think, is the standout. I believe it's the first track on the album. And he does a great Oh Holy Night, too. Of course, wonderful, wonderful singer. And then the only other really one that stands out, I don't remember hearing it nearly as much as the others, is Joan Baez had a Christmas record called Noel from the early 60s, and that one would play as well. One thing, in our house, we would always have a big get-together Christmas Eve with family, and a lot of gifts exchanged Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day would be the Santa gifts. So Christmas Eve, family exchange. Christmas morning, that's when Santa's gifts arrive under the tree. Or in our case, it was by the fire. It was always like on the hearth in front of the fireplace where Santa would leave his gifts for us. My mother is half Finnish, so one of our Christmas traditions was pula bread, which is this bread flavored with cardamom, and it has like maraschino cherries and slivered almonds on it. And she would always make this. Basically, it's spiced wine, essentially. It's called Glück, which I think is more of a German thing. I thought it was disgusting, and I'm still not a huge fan. It's like
mulled cider kind of wine.
Hot wine with like raisins in it and other like.
Yeah. Do you still do any of these traditions now with you've got a 14-year-old son?
Right. We got a 14-year-old son, Cooper. We don't do as much Christmas Eve. And I'm finding that that's more common that most people do the majority of their Christmas stuff on the day and not
Mm-hmm.
on the eve. But Christmas Eve was it was basically Christmas was a 2-day thing in
Mm-hmm.
our family. It really started basically late afternoon on the 24th. It continued throughout the day on the 25th because I grew up in a small town and we had a lot of family nearby. So both sets of grandparents lived in town and then multiple aunts and uncles. So there would always be a lot of like Christmas Day, it would be going to other people's houses. Christmas Eve would be always be at our house.
Mm.
Yeah.
I had the opposite because we had all of my parents' families were out of state. We did get together with a very close friends and all of their kids and, family on Christmas Day. But we still had a lot of traditions and things that we did every year. In fact, one of the things I was thinking of today was ribbon candy.
I
We
didn't
used to
really
get
know I didn't even know what that meant when you told me.
Okay, we get a
Yeah.
box of this stuff called ribbon candy every year. And it was like it was kind of like a candy cane consistency, but it was shaped like ribbons. And it was different flavors and they'd be in this little box. And also the other thing with it, every year we'd get the Lifesaver storybook packaged Lifesavers that you open them up and there's like all these different flavors. Butterscotch was my favorite.
One of the exciting things about Christmas is the advent calendar. It makes it a month-long
Yeah.
affair. So we'd always have an advent calendar. And it was so exciting when you're a little kid to be able to open that first window on December the 1st.
And actually, my kids, when they were younger, they were into the Lego ones. So now they have Lego advent calendars, and every day you get a little piece, and then you like piece it together and you build something. And yeah.
Well, we don't really have any hard and fast traditions around here, but I am going to transition to our first song because this is my son's favorite, and it's become one of my favorites as well. The artist is Emmylou Harris. Here's the album. It's called Light of the Stable. It's been reissued many, many times with different album covers and different track listings.
That's definitely a more current photo.
Yes.
Than the original.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, you're very astute. I hadn't noticed that. So she is a country artist, a foundational country artist, but she's crossed over really from the early days. She had an obscure album that came out in the late 60s that she disowned shortly thereafter. It's hard to come by now, called Gliding Bird, more in a folk vein. She actually came out of folk music. Military brat, family bounced around. She basically, her formative years were in Virginia, in the Washington, D.C. area, a little bit in North Carolina. Ended up in Greenwich Village trying to make it in folk music, cut that album. Then, she's performing in clubs in D.C., and Chris Hillman of the Byrds hears about her. This is kind of like hearkening back to Roberta Flack. Remember Roberta Flack in our second episode was kind of a local sensation in the D.C. area, in the clubs. Older woman getting on to her 30s. Emmylou wasn't that old, but she was kind of making her name for herself on the local circuit there. And Chris Hillman was in town, got tipped off, heard her name, went to the show, got knocked out, and was thinking, God, I'd really like to have her in the Flying Burrito Brothers. Now, at this point, Graham Parsons had left the Burrito Brothers. Graham Parsons on board for their first two records, Gilded Palace of Sin and Burrito Deluxe. He's left the group, going on a solo career. Hillman decides against the idea of bringing Emmylou in, but thinking, I know Graham is looking for a duet partner. She'd be great. Put the two of them together, and the rest is history. Emmylou is very much a part of those Graham Parsons albums with her harmony vocals. And that's really how she made a name for herself at the beginning. And for rock pop fans, I think that's what she's most known for, is as a harmonicist. I guess is the way you'd say it. Harmony vocals.
Not a word. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's selling her way short because she's a wonderful artist. Her catalog is still waiting there for me to discover, but she's just a wonderful artist and just high quality music. Not only the vocals, but the story goes when she got her contract. So, so she's with Graham Parsons. If you're not a Graham Parsons fan, very influential musician, didn't sell a ton of records in his time, but highly influential and kind of bringing the worlds of country and rock together. This is pre-Eagles, before country rock music was really a big thing. He was in the Byrds very briefly for one album, and that album is considered one of the first country rock albums, Sweetheart of the Rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, great record. Then he left and formed the Flying Burrito Brothers. He had a band called International Submarine Band before all that. So great music there too. But now he's doing these solo records. They didn't sell a ton, but now critical favorites, beautiful songs, and it's a lot of it is straight country music, but kind of with a rock and roll feel to it. He definitely lived a rock and roll lifestyle, and that caused him to. I think he's part of the 27 Club, right? Died at the
Mm-hmm.
age of 27 with a number of another, like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and all them.
Yeah.
Heroin overdose, 73, Joshua Tree Park in California. So she's just gutted. I mean, I don't think they were ever romantically involved, but they were very, very closely tied. And throughout a lot of her career, she has paid tribute to him, recording his songs throughout the years, always speaks highly of him. But she got her own record deal shortly after Graham's death. And one of the record executives says, I tell you what, if you can get a hot band together, I'll sign you up. And boy, did she! I mean, she is renowned for having these incredible bands. Super talented musicians, starting out pulling in some of the band members that have been playing with Graham Parsons, which Graham had poached these guys from Elvis Presley. Glenn Hardin, the pianist, Ron Tutt, the drummer, part of Elvis Presley's TCB band that backed him in Vegas. Great music. James Burton, one of the all-time great session guitarists, without question. So that's just at the start of her career. Her first album is called Pieces of the Sky, came out in 75. And really across her catalog, just consistent high quality. It's country, but it brings in a lot of other influences, folk, rock, bluegrass, you name it. So in 79, she puts out a Christmas album, Lie to the Stable. The lead track on that is called Christmastime's a-Comin. Now, this is kind of interesting. The composer of this, Benjamin Tex Logan. The song was written in 1951. Tex Logan was not a full-time musician, more of an amateur musician. He did play with some famous people, but his day job was an engineer. He worked for Bell Labs. He had a degree, he had a master's from MIT, a doctorate degree from Columbia University. He worked most of his career at Bell Labs. He was heavily involved in developing MP3 technology, but he wrote this song called Christmastime's a-Comin. Bill Monroe first recorded it in 1951. He actually played some with Bill Monroe. I think he played the fiddle, if I'm not mistaken. Johnny Cash recorded it on his Family Christmas album in 1972. And then Emmy's album comes out in 79. Most of the artists that have covered the song are country artists. The song was a bluegrass song. Bill Monroe, obviously the king of bluegrass. Patty Loveless, Sammy Kershaw, Diamond Rio, Charlie Daniels, Oak Ridge Boys, just some of those that have covered the song. It's a great album. This has become a Christmas staple around our house.
She has such a lovely voice.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
these Christmas, I think that it really lends itself well to the Christmas songs. It's a really beautiful album, actually.
Yes, yeah. She does a lot of the Christmas standards on the album, Little Town of Bethlehem, Way in a Manger, and then some more modern takes on Christmas. But the things you're always going to get with Emmylou Harris is absolutely top-tier musicianship from her band. I mentioned the initial musician, Ricky Skaggs, got his start with Emmylou. He plays on this record. Rodney Crowell was an early part of her hot band, and she was really one of the first artists to popularize his songs. And he would go on to have a solo career of note and ended up in a relationship with Roseanne Cash, another one of my absolute favorite artists. But just a whole string of top-tier musicians have come through her band. And then, of course, her vocals, just whether she's singing lead or harmony, just always beautiful. And there's just wonderful harmony singing throughout this album. And this has been a staple.
Yeah, I actually went and listened to the album. I had never heard it, and it's really good. I actually really like it. I could see you sitting in front of a fire listening to this album, looking at the lights of the tree, and yeah, it's really nice.
Yep.
I like
mood,
it too.
Good mood setter for Christmas.
Yeah,
for sure. Now, you've kind of vacillated on your song. You had one that you pushed forward, and you've changed your mind. And I've
changed my mind a few times.
I kidded our Beatle fan here that she didn't have initially John Lennon's or Paul McCartney's big Christmas song, but she's come around and staying true to her roots. But the big question, the big reveal, who's it going to be? Lennon or McCartney? Who's it going to be?
I think anybody who's listened to our podcast probably knows that I'm more of a McCartney gal.
As am I. As am I. McCartney guy, not a McCartney
Yeah,
gal.
yeah. McCartney fan. Yeah, actually, I mean, I do really like the Happy Christmas War is Over song. I think John's
Beautiful song.
vocal, I
Yeah.
love the first line, just so this is Christmas. Like
Yep.
goosebumps, you know.
Something about songs that start like that where there's not like a big production or intro. It's just boom, you're right.
Just
And so this is
right
Christmas.
into the vocals,
Yeah,
like solo vocals,
we're there.
no
Yeah.
music behind it. Yeah. And that is really, it's really powerful. But I have to say, I definitely listen to Wonderful Christmas Time many, many, many more times during the Christmas season than I do Happy Christmas. It's one of those songs that I think there's probably a lot of people just think it's cheesy and annoying, maybe, but it's so catchy and it's so lighthearted and fun and singable, and it has the jingly bells, and the children's choir sings their song ding dong. It is definitely one, if not my favorite Christmas song, original Christmas song. It's also kind of fun because it really sort of harkens back to the Beatles Christmas albums. Back in the day, starting in 1963, every year the Beatles would record a Christmas song, really. I mean, I don't know if you could even call it a song, but they were usually anywhere from 3 to maybe 10 minutes long.
Fan club records.
They were fan club records that they would send to their fan club members. And they did that. Actually, surprisingly, I just went back and listened to them all. They did it all the way up to 1969, which was kind of shocking to me that they did it their entire career. I figured it would have fallen off the wayside by like probably 65, or when they stopped, really touring, or that era of the Beatles. But it's interesting because those ones are actually scripted. It's like they have a little play that they wrote, and they, and actually perform it. The first ones, you listen to the first like 3, and remember the first one came out in 63. They are so wild and crazy and goofy. And I'm thinking, are they like totally high in 63 recording this? Because it's so off the wall and weird and bizarre and funny. But actually, Mike made a comment, which I think is true, and why they were big fans of the Goon Squad and like Peter Sellers, yeah. So it's very much in that line of humor.
And that's where George Martin cut his teeth too, on those comedy records.
Yeah, because he produced those albums. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I see the connection now, because that definitely was their style of humor. And it really shines on these because it's really just them being themselves, and so they're fun. And I feel like Wonderful Christmas Time sort of harkens back to that style where it's just a very simple melody. And so it was recorded in 79 after the Back to the Egg sessions, between Back to the Egg and McCartney 2. And it's really sort of like a precursor of what McCartney 2 was, which was just Paul and his synthesizers, playing a drum machine, and just him recording in his own home studio by himself. And that's basically what the song is too. It kind of epitomizes Paul McCartney songs. It's very simple. It's catchy. It's innocuous.
It's happy.
And it's happy. And there's going to be a lot of people that want to just like put it down.
Yep.
and say that it's cheesy, but you know what? Even those people probably still hum along with it, and they probably still like can't get it out of their head when they hear it. and to me, that's what makes a great pop song. And so, this is kind of one of those songs where it's a Christmas song. It's clearly a Christmas song. They're talking about Christmas. They're playing the jingle bells, and they got the children's choir in the background. But it's just, I think it's a good song. Like, I think it's a fun song. And
I do too.
And I think that's what makes the best original Christmas songs, as if it's a song you actually want to hear, despite the fact that it's about Christmas, then it's a good one. So
nope, I'm with you there. I enjoy that very much. Although if forced to choose, Personally, I'd go the other direction. I prefer the John Lennon song, Happy Christmas, War is Over. Happy Xmas? Xmas? Is that
It's
how?
Happy
Yeah.
Xmas is the way it's
Yeah.
written.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really beautiful song. But yeah, that really shows you the Lennon McCartney divide, where there's going to be a little more angst in the Lennon song, bringing up war in a
Oh yeah,
Christmas song.
he's talking about war, and
Yeah.
and it's a peaceful message, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a political stance. Whereas Paul's just wanting to have a wonderful Christmas time.
But I think that leads me into my next song too, because Happy Xmas War is Over. It's just whatever theme or whatever lyrics you put to that's got the potential to be a hit song. Now, my other song, I believe, and I'm surprised it wasn't a bigger hit at the time, its stature has grown and grown and grown and continues to grow over the years. And that is a song called This Christmas, which I think is familiar to a lot of people, but I don't know that everybody knows the story behind the original artist. So many artists have covered that song now. The original is just, I don't know how you top it. The artist is Donny Hathaway. The song came out in 1970, and it's just such a great song. And it starts with the incredible horn hook, da 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 da, and the beat behind that. And then Donny Hathaway is on the short list of my favorite vocalists. He is just a tremendous talent, and not just as a vocal talent. Here's a guy, musical all-rounder, writer, arranger, producer, and singer, and musician. Wonderful keyboard player. Born in Chicago, raised in St. Louis, came out of the projects in St. Louis, got affiliated with Curtis Mayfield's label, Curtom. He was kind of a house producer, arranger at Curtom Records, and then his talent clearly shone through. He started releasing his own stuff in 1969. The album, now I've got the Donny Hathaway solo or self-titled album on CD, and This Christmas was a standalone single release in 1970. They've tacked it onto the CD. That's how I've got it. It wasn't a big hit at the time it was released. I don't even know that if it made the top 40, it just barely scraped in there. But over the years, the genius of this song has been recognized. And look at the list of artists that have covered it at this point. Diana Ross, Aretha Franklin, The Temptations, Four Tops, Stevie Wonder, Christina Aguilera, Chicago, Harry Connick, NSYNC, Gloria Estefan, Chris Brown, Patti LaBelle, Mary J. Blige, Seal, Train. I mean, hello?
Yeah.
Poor Donny, unfortunately, was a troubled soul, struggled with mental illness, and his career really got derailed pretty early on. 73 was his last album, his last solo album. He put out an incredible live album that is considered one of the great live albums, just Donny Hathaway live. And then just battled his demons for the rest of his life. He was kind of making a comeback at the end of the 70s. Of course, he had a duet with Roberta Flack. We talked about Donny a little bit in that second episode. Had a great two big hit duets with Roberta Flack, Closer I Get. Closer I get to you, more you make. And then, so that was the later one. That was end of the 70s. Where is the love? Where is the love? That was the earlier 70s one. Where is the love? So Donny Hathaway, now, this kind of pisses me off. I've read, like vintage reviews. Guys like Donny Hathaway, Roberta Flack, and even Curtis Mayfield. The music they produced was lush. It was heavily arranged, had a lot of sweeteners in it, and they were criticized for that as being somehow inauthentic black performers because they drew from all these other outside influences. Now, Curtis Mayfield, he was self-taught, everything he did. Donny Hathaway and Roberta Flack were music schooled. I mean, they were classically trained, very talented musicians. So they're drawing upon a range of influences, not just gospel and soul music, but classical music, folk, rock, blues, you name it. It's all in there. And that Donny Hathaway self-titled album is so great. He does a cover of Leon Russell's A Song for You. Another song that's been covered by hundreds of artists. It's a standard. I don't think anybody tops Donny Hathaway. No less a talent than Stevie Wonder said, any song Donny Hathaway sings, he owns. And that is certainly the case with A Song for You, and certainly the case as well with This Christmas. It is definitely one of my two choices, no doubt about it.
You know, the only part I remember of that song is A Very Special Christmas. And I actually thought it came out with that A Very Special Christmas collection that came out in like the late 80s, maybe early 90s. And I just equated it with that for some reason. I do know that song. I would say that it definitely has become like a Christmas classic, a modern day Christmas classic. Like you said, so many people have covered it, but I think that Donny Hathaway's version is the one that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, it's unimpeachable, untouchable. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's a good enough song that there's plenty of artists that can make a hash of it. But Donny Hathaway, his vocals are just so great. He's came out of the gospel, came out of the church, but a lot of those type of singers can just take it too far. I mean, I'll be honest here. I know this is sacrilege, but Aretha Franklin. I mean, I've heard a lot of Aretha Franklin, and it can get over the top a little, just too. If forced to choose,
flourishes.
And, just Patti LaBelle is another good example. Just incredible vocal talent, but just all right. Let's pull it back a little. Let's just
rein it in a little bit. Yeah.
My favorite singer in the gospel, in that regard, would be Mavis Staples. I don't think she ever sang a bad note in her life, but Donny Hathaway is just an exquisite singer. He's so good, and you could see the influence he had on Stevie Wonder. I mean, really, when Stevie Wonder was coming into his own as an adult performer, not just performer, but all-inclusive composer, arranger, musician, performer. You can hear that. I think he's getting some influence from Donny Hathaway there. Very similar vocal styles with his early 70s work. I think that influence probably went both ways. But somebody that needs to be better known, I think, Donny Hathaway. I know one of I think the greatest vocalist that's come around in recent years, in my opinion, is Amy Winehouse, another talented performer who left us way too soon, sadly, with Demons. But she said Donny Hathaway was her favorite singer, or at least one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't he one that she references
absolutely
in Rehab? Yeah.
In fact, she name checks him in a song.
In Rehab, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that's what you
yeah.
Now, before we bring your hubby in, or maybe we can bring him in, you could talk about it at the same time. Part of the Christmas tradition for you is watching those animated specials.
The Rankin-Bass, yes.
Do you still
animated?
Do you, as a 58-plus-year-old adult, you sit down with your
my kids love it.
Teen kids and still watch it every Christmas?
Oh yeah. So that is a tradition that we have carried on because we've watched them every year since the kids were little and still do. Those are the Year Without Santa Claus, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and the scariest, creepiest one, The Little Drummer Boy. That one always scared the crap out of me when I was younger.
I don't even know a few of them. Obviously,
they don't play that one. Like that one they stopped playing, I think, on TV because it just was too dark and didn't portray the Arab nations very well. So it was very un-PC. Yeah, no, I love those. I think the music in those specials is really fun. I'm Mr. Heat Miser.
Very, very impactful on our generation in particular, I think. And you've seen that a lot of musicians of our vintage referencing Heat Miser was, of course, Elliott Smith's band down here in Portland. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there are, and actually a bunch of modern artists have covered the songs from those specials too on Christmas albums. And I think that along with the Grinch Who Stole Christmas and the Charlie Brown Peanuts Christmas special the thing is, when we were kids, we would really look forward to the one day when they would show those, that you would have to be home to watch it at that time on that day, or you would miss it until the next year because it was only on once.
On one of those 6 channels on the TV.
So it was a big event the day that it played, then you had to be home to watch it. But yeah, we still watch those and enjoy those. I love those. I mean, the stories are fun. The stop action animation is really cool, and the music I think is great in those specials. I think they're really fun, catchy songs, and yeah.
No, I remember. I obviously remember Rudolph and Frosty the Snowman, and
Frosty the Snowman was animated, yeah, not stop action, but it was actually animated. But yeah,
the Grinch, and the Charlie Brown Christmas. The other ones I don't really recall.
You don't remember A Year Without Santa Claus? Or one of them is called Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and it was the story of Kris Kringle and how he became Santa Claus. And it was the Meister Burger. You don't remember this? He was banning toys. No one could have toys anymore.
Okay,
that's Santa. That's Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yeah, the title just doesn't ring a bell for me.
Okay, Year Without Santa Claus is the one that has Heat Miser, and gosh, why can't I remember the other one's name? There's the cold one, the Jack Frost guy, and then there's the Heat Miser. And they were like so creepy and weird looking. Heat Miser had like this red hair that was all sticking straight up, and the Jack Frost was like had this like really crookedy pointy nose, and I don't know. They felt very like Sid and Marty Krofft, like HR Pup and stuff, and that they had kind of like that.
I never liked those as a kid.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I was into weird stuff even before I knew it was weird. But
what a perfect note to bring in your husband.
That's true. That's true. We need to. I'm going to go get him. So hang on just a second here.
So on that note, we bring in Sheryl's husband, Mike Bott. Now, Mike, Sheryl, and I all worked at Silver Platters at the same time in the early '90s. Of course, Mike was was there long before the two of us. You were there near the beginning. So Silver Platters, for those who don't know, okay, so Mike and Sheryl own Silver Platters. They have 3 record stores in the Puget Sound area. But initially, Silver Platters was not a record store per se. It specialized in those newfangled 5-inch shiny aluminum discs called compact discs, which were cutting-edge technology back in the mid-'80s. Now,
and laser video discs.
And that's right, laser video discs as
well. Both being Silver Platters.
That's right. So you started at Silver Platters in 1987. 87, and the store began in
85.
Now, I'm surprised that it started that early because, at this point in my life, I'm a super geek collector. So I look for the old CDs before U.S. pressing plants.
Yep.
So 85, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, was the year that Digital Audio Disc Incorporated, or Digital Audio Disc Corporation, went online in Terre Haute, Indiana. And that was the first U.S. pressing plant for compact discs. So prior to that, all compact discs started being released toward the end of 82.
Yes.
So prior to DADC coming online in Indiana, all compact discs were manufactured overseas, either in Japan or in Germany. So I'm on the hunt for those. I collect the early foreign pressings. So Silver Platters actually started in 85 before CDs were even being manufactured in the United States.
Yes.
Interesting. So by the time Sheryl and I were there, you were at the corporate office as the buyer for the company. And eventually, you and Sheryl struck up a relationship, married, and the company became your property. But now it's a full service record store with vinyl and CD.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm sure you even have cassette tapes too, if you're into that.
Cassette tapes. We still have some laser videos running around, 8 tracks.
I actually have. I got a couple of open reels over here that I picked up here and there.
Yeah,
I don't have a player.
That's the one thing that we haven't really gotten into.
Yeah. Have you ever owned one?
Oh, yes. Actually, didn't own it. It was loaned to me by another person at Silver Platter, Steve Witt, who used to be a recording artist. And he had stopped using it and knew that my brother and myself were interested in recording and lent it to me. And so we played lots of fun games with the reel-to-reel and tape recorders,
like
and
playing things backwards.
Yes, yeah, it was the first chance of actually recording an album and then playing it backwards to see if it actually had
satanic messages.
Hidden messages.
When I first started working in radio full time, when I moved to Astoria, Oregon, 1999, it was a duopoly, AM/FM, and they soon got bought out by a New Northwest Broadcasters conglomeration. The FM station was automated, but all the music ran on these linked reel-to-reel players. There were like 5 of them. And so you had to, like change the reels that was kind of like part of your duties. And if you put them on wrong, the music would play backwards. Very antiquated system. Anyway, before we get too far off track, I do want to grill you a little bit before we get to your Christmas pick. First CD you ever bought, Mike, what was it?
The first CD that I ever bought, I believe, was My Aim is True by Elvis Costello.
Is that your favorite Elvis Costello album?
No. Much like a lot of my favorite artists, I have like 3 or 4 favorite Costello albums, and they change from this one being my favorite to this one being my favorite to this back to this one.
Depends on the mood you're in.
Yeah, it just depends on the mood and stuff like that. But you really can't go wrong with the first like 5 Costello albums.
Sheryl and I talked about this. I don't know if we did it on a pod that we released yet, but Trust is one I haven't come around to yet that I'm curious about. That it seems like that one's hard to come by for some reason.
You mean come by it physically?
Yeah. Yes. So I'm still very old fashioned. I still buy everything on physical media, primarily CDs, and I'm a scavenger. So I hit thrift shops and look for trying to get things at low prices. Trust is just never something you find used for some reason.
Well, are you looking for the original Columbia?
No, well, yes, the Rhino and the Columbia.
Okay,
not the Ryko, but the Columbia or the Rhino.
Oh, why not the Ryko?
They're not as collectible. Maybe that one is. Maybe that's got something special on it I don't know about. But
because he's all old school and he thinks he wants the old ones.
Well,
but you don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
No, we're going way off track here.
We could go down a rabbit hole right now. So
we're gonna have Mike on more. We're gonna drag him in against his will if we have to, at least once for every year of our playlist to get his take. So there's plenty of ground we can cover down the road. But we want to talk about your Christmas pick because this one was something I was entirely unfamiliar with.
Yeah, I love Christmas music and I have lots of favorites. One that hasn't been brought up that needs to be brought up is the Vince Guaraldi Peanuts Christmas album and Linus and Lucy. Amazing stuff. And
Linus and Lucy is just separated from the Peanuts cartoons. It's one of the great pieces of instrumental music ever.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. And then throw in the dance that comes with it in the actual... But the Christmas song that caught my ear, I heard it on Kazam Radio in 1981 around Christmas time.
Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, it was an FM radio station that was kind of hippy-dippy. They played all sorts of different music. And a DJ that had started there, Peyton Mays, played this track by the Cory Band called Stop the Calvary around Christmas time of 1981. and it was so catchy, and I'd never heard it before. It was one of the few times that I've called into a station and said, "What was that?" And Peyton Mays said, "I really don't know what it is. What I just played was a cassette that was sent to me by a DJ friend of mine in Toronto. And I know it's the Cory Band. I know it's Stop the Calvary, but that's all I know."
Cory
And,
Band, Cory?
yeah,
Cory Band?
Cory.
Yeah.
So then it became a search to try to find this recording. And years of searching. In the mid 80s, another popular DJ in the Seattle area, Larry Nelson, who had his own show, a morning show on Como, very famous.
Many years on Como. Yeah.
He started playing the song. He was part of not just Como, but a couple of other stations where they play 88 Hours of Christmas. And he'd always bring out the Cory Band, Stop the Calvary. So it started to get its own following in the Northwest. It was about that time that I had figured out that it was actually a cover of a hit by a stiff recording artist, speaking of Elvis Costello, and
yes,
by the name of Jonah Louie in the UK in 1980. And he wrote it not as a Christmas song, but as an anti-war protest song. Although the album came out around Christmastime in 1980, and Stiff decided to make it Christmassy and recorded it with a Salvation Army brass band behind it and tubular bells. And it does talk about Christmas. The main theme is the soldier wanting to be home for Christmas with the girl he loves. And because back then there was no internet, it was very hard to figure out things, especially things coming from the UK, if they didn't have any radio play or anything in the US, which this Jonah Louie didn't, but it became the number 3 song in December of 1980 in the UK. And the only reason it didn't reach number 1 was because the week that it came out, John Lennon was shot. And the 2 songs that were number 1 and 2 were John Lennon songs. So Jonah Louie's Stop the Calvary was number 3. The Cory Band version, it turns out, was a version that Stiff Records decided to try to put out and capitalize on the popularity of the song in 1981. And because it had such a kind of retro feeling to it, they searched out a brass band to cover it. And the town of Cory, which is in Wales, they have a band. So Stiff got the then director of that band to get the band to do that song. And they recorded it, and they were going to try to put it back out and get it going again for Christmas. They recorded a few hundred promo 45s of it, and through a kind of a fluke, instead of shipping them to UK radio stations, a lot of them actually got shipped to Canada, mainly the Toronto area, and into radio stations there. And so where it got its life was not over in the UK. It kind of flopped over there, the idea of trying to resurrect it. But in Canada, a couple DJs started, hey, this is pretty cool, and started sharing it with other DJ friends in the States. And that's how Peyton Mays got it. I'm guessing that's how Larry Nelson kind of found out about it, through DJ Network. And
for those who don't know, over the decades, there's this whole underground network of tape trading between radio people. Like, these things circulate among this DJ community.
Yeah, you're right. So this song got its life through, it's very catchy, but the reason I love the song is the story about it and how it all of a sudden resurrected itself over in the Pacific Northwest and started becoming this very requested song. And the only way that you could listen to it was if you listened to the radio. And back when I was working at Silver Platters, people would come in the store at Christmas time and say, I'm looking for that one song they play on the radio. I don't know what the name of it is. I don't know, it's that one song. And I would step out and I'd start doing ba-da-da-da-dum bum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-dum bum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum. And they'd go, yes, that one, what is that? And then, at that time I would tell them, well, it's not on CD. It's the Cory Band, Stop the Calvary. Good luck in trying to find a copy of it. And
it's going to be low. It's going to be low fidelity. Whatever you find.
So, well, in the early 90s, 90, 91, Rhino Records got the licensing rights to the Stiff catalog. And at that time, I knew a number of people at Rhino Records. And I sent a message out. While you're going through the masters, see if you can find the Cory Band version of Stop the Calvary. I'm sure you'll find the Jonah Louie version. And I got a message back. Yeah, we're looking for that too. And then a couple weeks later, I got the message. Sorry to tell you, they don't have the master anymore. And that their best guess is that the master, because it was a flop for the Cory Band version, was reused for Nick Lowe's Pinker and Prouder Than Previous. They didn't want to buy a new tape, so they just reused the master tape of the Cory Band. So there was no master. And so it was decided that they weren't going to put it on any of their Rhino compilations of Stiff stuff, just the Jonah Louie version, which in its own right is very catchy and should be listened to. Is
the Jonah Louie version? Would that be on the Stiff box set, or how would you?
Yeah, I believe it's on the Stiff box set. In '95, one of the Silver Platters customers, he was kind of in radio, but he was more in TV. He was J.P. Patch's music man and the music man for Cairo TV, Dwayne Smart.
And for those of you outside the Northwest who have stumbled upon this or have been following us, J.P. Patches was a beloved television children's entertainer in Seattle.
For years.
Cairo TV, the CBS affiliate.
Yeah, and every region had their own children's TV host that was beloved back. That was a thing back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s.
Right.
And this person reached out, had heard that I knew about the song, reached out. He wanted to put it on CD. And I told him, well, it's from Stiff Records, gave him the Stiff Records phone number and all the contact information. He reached out to them and he called me back about a week later and said, guess what? I bought the licensing rights for it. And they're going to send me the master. And I said, they don't have the master. No, they told me they've got the master and they're going to send it to me. And it ended up that they didn't have the master and sent him the best 45 that they had, 45 copy. And he took that and made a CD of it since he had the licensing rights. And Silver Platters was the only place that you could buy the CD at that time.
How about that?
If I remember correctly, we sold a couple thousand copies of them for the first couple years that we were putting them out. There's somewhere online a person who states that there were 13,000 sold physical copies of the CD, and I think that he may have gotten that information from Dwayne. But
just in the Puget Sound area?
Mostly in the Puget Sound area.
Wow.
But
that's pretty impressive.
We had started our own website and started selling things online. And what was interesting was that we were getting outside sales from a couple different states, one of the main ones being Pennsylvania. And when I started, I would ask people, how did you hear this song? It pretty much all came down to they had lived in the Pacific Northwest. And the reason that Pennsylvania is that they had served in the Pacific Northwest. It was military. A lot of military families live both in the Northwest and also in Pennsylvania.
You got Whidbey Island Naval Air Base, McCord, and Fort Lewis.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a lot of military here and the same sort of military over in Pennsylvania. And so it traveled over there with them and, became a family. You just hear all the time about it was something the family looked forward to listening to every year. All these families would wait to hear the Cory Band, da 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 dum dum da 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 dum, and so it was nice that it came kind of full circle, and from being a cassette tape being played on a FM radio station late one night in the early 80s to being on CD and sold at our record store, the only place selling it, and selling thousands of copies.
That's very cool. And now, thankfully, if anybody listening or watching wants to hear that song, it is up on YouTube, which I was just playing it before the show.
Yeah, when we stopped, when Dwayne stopped making the CDs, once he got the song up onto iTunes and Spotify, and he felt it was no longer needed to keep on pressing the CD.
Well, Mike, that's a great story, harkening back to those magical days of radio when if you wanted to find out what a song was, you waited till the end and just hoped and prayed that the DJ would tell you what it was. Mike, it's great to have you on, and I hope you're going to be joining us regularly to put in your 2 cents on the playlist. I want to hear your favorite songs and albums from each year we do, too.
Yep. Sounds good.
All right. But this is the end of our Christmas episode, our 4 songs. The one Mike just detailed, a rarity, is called Stop the Calvary by the Cory Band. And your best bet is to find that on YouTube. My 2 picks, This Christmas by Donny Hathaway from 1970, and Emmylou Harris's recording of Christmastime's a-Comin, which was on her 1979 Christmas LP called Light of the Stable, and Cheryl's Christmas classic, Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney, also 1979, right? 1979?
It was recorded in 79, and it actually was released as a bonus track on the reissue of Back to the Egg.
So when we reconvene, we're going to be continuing with 1977. We dipped our toe in with the Eagles and Hotel California. Cheryl's first pick for that year was Climax Blues Band's Couldn't Get It Right. We're going to take a look at a very influential track from that year in terms of keyboard technology, synthesizer technology, one that was a hit in the United States, not a massive hit, but a huge hit in the rest of the world, and its influence goes way beyond its record sales. That will feature on our next show, and we hope you join us then. We're going to stick around in 1977 for a few years. Cheryl's also going to pick her favorite album from 1977 on our next show.
I am.
Till then, you've been listening to Matt and Cheryl's Gen Excellent Playlist. I'm Matt.
I'm Sheryl.
And we hope you all have a very Merry Christmas.